as Hamas, the terror group ruling the Gaza Strip, mounted one of the most dangerous attacks on Israel. Many have called it the worst attack inside the Jewish state's territory since its creation in 1948. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed shock at what he called terrorist attacks and conveyed his solidarity with Israel. While the MEA is yet to come out with an official statement, the Prime Minister's words have been seen as siding with Israel. However, this was not the case always. In November 1947, when the United Nations General Assembly voted on a resolution to partition Palestine into a Jewish state, an Arab state, and an international city, Jerusalem, India, along with others, voted against it. While India was one of the last non-Muslim states to recognize Israel, it became the first non-Arab state to recognize the Palestine Liberation Organization. However, the balance of ties shifted in the 1990s. What happened next was history.
The support, the wall-to-wall support, started by Prime Minister Modi, who tweeted a very supportive tweet. But I was approached by ministers, by business people, by civil servants, by ordinary Indians. Just people wrote to us. You see the social media. We are really bombarded with love and support. Amazing. It's not something we take for granted.
With their own distinct cultures, religions, political challenges, and even sizes, India and Israel appear to be completely different. Yet, these two nations actually have a lot in common, including being home to two of the world's earliest religions, Judaism and Hinduism. From the spices they use, their advancements in high tech, and even their shared history of establishing independence from British rule, it would appear these two very different countries aren't so different after all. In 1947, India achieved its freedom. In 1948, Israel declared its independence. India was created with Pakistan, and a Jewish state, which would become Israel, was drawn on the map with an accompanying Arab state. But that's not the end of India and Israel's surprisingly similar stories. Their relationship begins with food. Bronze Age Israelites flavored their food with sesame and turmeric from India. The second millennium BCE also saw the formation of two of the world's oldest religions, Hinduism and Judaism, in the lands of India and Israel respectively. Scholars have timed the Vedas to be written around 1500 BCE, around the same time that the Jewish tradition holds the Bible was given to Moses. They also each served as the foundation of other religions. Judaism's teachings formed the basis of Christianity and Islam, while Hinduism birthed Buddhism and Jainism. Later in the 17th century, both Indian subcontinent and Israel came under Muslim imperial rule. Israel was under the Ottoman Empire, while the Indian subcontinent was under the Mughal rule. Then came the British. Almost all of India came under British rule in the mid-19th century, and Palestine was established under the Crown after World War I. Despite these similarities, the modern governments of the two countries are different on various levels too. Albert Einstein, one of Israel's most prominent opponents, met Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru at Princeton University. In 1947, Einstein wrote to Nehru and asked him to support the emerging state. Nehru, however, couldn't do it as the young India didn't want to alienate its Muslim citizens in support of a Jewish state, especially where it had its own neighbors to worry about. New Delhi, however, recognized Israel in 1950 after two Muslim-majority countries, Turkey and Iran, did so. In 1953, Israel was allowed to open a consulate in Mumbai, but no diplomatic presence was granted in New Delhi. In the late 1960s and early 70s, Palestine Liberation Organization emerged as the representative of the people of Palestine. On January 10, 1975, India recognized PLO as the sole and legitimate representative of the Palestinian people and permitted it an independent office in New Delhi. The governments of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi continued to support the Palestine movement. This support, however, led to a criticism at home, especially after the Arab world took a neutral stand during the 1962 India-China War and backed Pakistan during the wars in 1965 and 71. Two factors led to a massive shift in India's Middle East strategy: Iraq's invasion of Kuwait and the fall of the Soviet Union. PLO's support to Saddam Hussein and the dilution of the non-aligned movement with the end of the Cold War forced India to tune its policies to the new realities. New Delhi established full diplomatic ties with Israel in 1992. The relations became stronger under the Atal Bihari Vajpayee-led BJP government. Israel became a friend in need when it provided India with urgent military supplies during the 1999 Kargil War. Though Israel has provided military aid and traded informally with India since the 50s, it wasn't until the Oslo Accords that the two nations began to formally cooperate. Relations between India and Israel have only gotten better since. Today, Indian government maintains a policy of de-hyphenation, which means treating the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority as separate and engaging with each on its own terms. With the rise in terrorism, the countries share much in defense technology. Both countries also share sorrow and resolve after the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks by Pakistani terror group. Fast forward, current day. During PM Modi's visit to Israel in 2017, which was the first prime ministerial visit, he skipped the customary stop at Palestine, which was the norm with previous ministerial visits. The Modi government, however, had been quite careful about setting up this visit. South Bloc made sure that the Prime Minister visited Saudi Arabia, Iran, Qatar, UAE, all regional rivals of Israel between 2014 and 2017, before the trip to Israel. New Delhi hosted Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in May 2017. In all public pronouncements, South Bloc officials maintained India's position on its support towards the Palestinian cause. PM Modi later visited Palestine in February 2018, but then didn't visit Israel, achieving a complete de-hyphenation of the ties. The ongoing war between Israel and terror group Hamas threatens India's big outreach in the region and pushes it to pick a side, something New Delhi is not fond of owing to its trade and strategic interests. The problem at hand, however, is much more complex owing to the depth of India's relations with the Middle East and the fact that New Delhi is Israel's biggest arms customer. And PM Modi's post on the terror attacks only reflects the government's cautious approach to the Israel horror, underlining the high stakes.